Today's episode was sponsored by a private donation from London, Ontario, Canada. Thank you for your support and keeping this train going. Welcome to the Tons of Productions podcast on this Monday, September 9th, 2019. Today I chat with Michelle Harris. She is a ALM/Scout in Toronto, Ontario, and she worked for over 20 years in Vancouver's film industry and just moved to Toronto about a year ago. She's very knowledgeable, and it is a great interview. So here you go. Here is Michelle Harris. You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you doing, Michelle?
Oh, not too bad.
Good.
Long time no chat.
I know. I think the last time we talked was, were you on Bates maybe? I was doing a delivery, and you were sitting in your car outside this mansion waiting to get in.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. That was, was it Highcroft, I think, maybe. Yeah, geez, that was a long time ago. Holy cow.
I know. That's the last time we've talked online, but Facebook and stuff.
Wow. Well, things are good, eh?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been doing this podcast for a little bit now and interviewing a lot of people I've worked with, obviously. I got probably a couple years of guests if I just ask everyone I know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's fun.
Oh, it is. And it's a part of life that, it's part of a thing that interested me, and I really want to keep involved with the people and, observe it from, because it's something that really inspires me, and I love it. I love all these people have a certain way about them.
Yeah. I guess we do.
Yeah. Well, we must. There has to be some sort of gene or something that is, because, oh my God, the hours I've seen you work, me work, Jeff Dodd, all these people I know really well, like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's our life, right? Like, that's the thing. You got to really, really enjoy it. Otherwise, I don't think, as much as we complain every once in a while, well, all the time.
Yeah.
But we actually couldn't trade it for anything else. I think that obviously it serves something for us to be doing it all the time, or we wouldn't, right? So,
yeah. It's a mesmerizing thing, and I so the listeners know too. When we met, it was my first PA day.
Yes.
And I was standing outside this newer building. It was a Salvation Army building they built, and you were doing prep inside. And you saw me standing outside, and you brought me a coffee, and you're very kind to me. You gave me breaks and stuff, and I'm like, who's this lady? Like, I just started, right? I don't know who you are. I don't know we're on the same team, if you're brand new. So, and after 3 days of doing this, it was Sean Flynn, I believe, who gave me a check that said, well, before you leave, run this to Michelle. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I run you your check, and you're like, okay, I'm putting your name in my phone. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? At the time, I'm like, oh, that's weird, but okay, fine, whatever, right? And so I laughed, and it was right before Christmas, because it was a break after that. There was about 3 weeks where there was no work. And in early January, you called me. And I'm like, oh, hey. And you're like, you want to work on Stargate Atlantis? I'm like, oh, okay. And I came, and after about a month of doing, 2-3 days, you ended up giving me almost pretty well a show call. It was like I was working 4 to 5 days a week in the studio and stuff. And I was brand new. And you and Dan and all these people took me under your wing, and it made me feel like camaraderie, to be a part of an actual team, and I loved it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's really a part of the addiction to it as well, right? Is because you do become a family to whoever you're working with because you're there all the time, right?
Yeah.
But I remember that too. I actually remember that. You were a fantastic worker is the reason why.
Well, thank you.
And plus you were hilarious. So you kept me entertained most of the time.
Well, that's the other thing is you have to keep a positive attitude while you're doing this because we're all working 16, 17-hour days. So,
and sometimes longer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've stood for 20 hours, which is like a feat. You know, there's something to do that is an actual physical challenge. I've never done that before.
No, and why would you want to? Like,
yeah. So,
right?
Now I'm laughing about it, but back then, oh my God.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
no,
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, usually I start these with talking about the person I'm interviewing, where they come from. And so you come from the East Coast, from New Brunswick, was it?
No, I come from Stellarton, Nova Scotia.
Oh, it's Nova Scotia. Okay.
Yeah. So way over on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I went out quite early. I think I was like 19 at the time that I went out to Vancouver.
Oh.
And so it was. I had been out there a very, very long time before I moved here to Toronto. So,
oh yeah, no, you were here for years. But did you do film on the East Coast or no?
No, I didn't. I came right from high school, basically out there, and then I did my schooling in Vancouver. And from the film school in Vancouver.
Oh, you went to film school? I didn't know that.
I did. Well, I don't tell many people that.
You want jobs, right? You want to work.
That's right.
So what won?
But so I did that shortly after I went out. I think I was only there 2 years in Vancouver before I went to film school, and then
VFS though, or what school?
It was the Vancouver Film School, and then the Columbia Academy. I took television and broadcasting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I went to two different places. It was fun, right? You know, you got to play with all the equipment and things, and I ended up doing a lot of stop frame animation, which kind of surprised me. Yeah, you got to be patient for that, and I didn't think I was, and I found my patience there. So that was it was actually the one really good thing about going to school. So yeah. Well,
it's also live TV is different. Like broadcasting and that kind of thing is like news and like, you know, television shows. And it's even though it's considered, I guess, the same because it's camera and it's, you know, but it's live, a lot of it. And it's a lot of different procedures, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And it was really fun because you had like for the teleprompter kind of practice that we were doing in the school. So you'd be sitting and it would be like actually in a studio, right? Like a live studio, and you'd have to be reading these. Yeah, it was really cool. Like you get to play with a lot of different things, and none of it actually showed me the production assistant route, but
oh yeah, it was. Well, was that just by friends or by fluke, or how did you come across that? Was it just school that?
That was actually by fluke. I was doing a resume in some like little, employment center place where you were allowed to use the computers and stuff at that time.
Right.
And I met somebody there that was, she took my number. I never ever seen her again, but 2 days later I got a phone call from a guy named Chris. He was in the ALM. I think it was Chris Adams, but I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me in and he said, do you want to come and work on set? And I said, well, I've never done that before, but yeah. And I said, what do I do?
Oh, yeah.
Said, just come down, right? Just come on down. So I did. I went down and I stood in the rain for probably 17, 18 hours that day.
Wow.
And,
in the rain.
Yeah. I know, it was right downtown, the east side, and so it was at the Corrette building. I remember it was my very first day. It was fun. And from that day on, I never had to really put a resume out or anything. It's just basically your name just passed right through, right? Like if you can stand in the rain that long and like run garbage and stuff, then hey, perfect.
That is the test. My first test, obviously you were watching me and so was Sean, and I passed the first test. I stood out in the rain for days, for hours, and
with a soggy sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. It's physically challenging, but it's also basically, are you the type of person? Because if someone's complaining after 6 hours when you're there for 12 or better, then you become a person that you're not hired back.
That's right. Well, I mean, most of the time they don't come back anyhow. I've had quite a few PAs that I bring in. And then, in a few minutes that they're on the set, they're like, why am I here? And then I'm like, okay, well, that's the first X off because, if you're standing and I told you to do something, it feels like meaningless, but it actually means a lot.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, and a lot of people have a hard time understanding why they're in certain situations, and they just, it takes a certain type of person to be able to just follow instructions and know that whatever they're doing is important regardless of what the job kind of looks like, right?
Oh yeah, that was a real heartwarming memory for me of being taken into that group and being with you and Janice Yip and Dan and everybody and Jeff Dodd and it was like this family of people, and I felt so included, and if I didn't know something, you guys had patience to teach me, and then I knew, and it wasn't, you weren't yelling at me. I felt really grateful that that's the way I entered film, because a lot of people don't enter so kindly.
That's actually very true. I'm a really big believer on you build your team and you lead by example. And I know for myself, if somebody's aggressively at me or making me feel uncomfortable or like that I shouldn't have done something, and without explaining,
right?
Then that kind of makes me almost back off, and it's just I think a natural human behavior to then go, oh, I'm doing everything wrong, and then just shut down, right? So, I mean, to take the time to build your team and explain the job, and if they've done something, you don't go up and go, you did that wrong. Then they're going to be like, oh my God, it's awful.
Yeah, and they feel so horrible. They're trying to do their best. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you show them, like almost 100 times after that, 100% of the time after that, once you show them, explain it, it's done right all the time. So, and then you got a team to move forward with, as opposed to just like isolating everybody because they've done one thing wrong and you just can't take it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and explaining also why. I think that's another reason. Don't just do what I say. That's not good enough. If you're on a team and you're working together, then you explain, hey, this has to be covered because if not, transport will be upset, and whatever the reason is. But if you explain to them, then they feel a lot more part of the team as well, and they will do the job with, feeling a part.
Exactly. Yeah, I've always been that way. It's just I think I've been that way just because I actually learned that way as well, and I would hope other people take that time, and they have. I was very lucky with the people that I worked with. Oftentimes I was, kind of thrown into stuff, but I would get explained, like if I did do something wrong, it wasn't like a terrible, terrible thing. They would actually explain why it needed to be done a certain way, and that, from there I just move forward. And I think that's kind of why I do the same thing with other people.
So how long did it take you to move up to ALM stature?
Well, I left the industry and went off on my own for a little while. So
that's right. You had your own business, didn't you?
I did, yeah, servicing the film industry for quite a while there. I think it was like 6 or 7 years. So there was a break in there. I did PA and then prep work for probably 5 years. And then I moved up to Tal. I did like deck the halls. I think that was probably 4 years after I got into the industry.
Okay.
And so I worked with Gina Johnson on that one. And then I kind of went back because the industry got really, really slow there for a while. So I just went back to prepping.
Right.
And I learned a lot because then they take me into the office and things like that. So whether I moved up or not, I was still learning all the time because there wasn't any positions at the time to move. They had cut the towel position out and all kinds of things.
Oh yeah, there's been changes. Like I saw the prep ALM. That's a newer thing, I thought.
And it is a newer thing. Yeah, they're starting to make the department bigger because it needed to be, right? But yeah, during the period, I don't know, like 2006 to 2009, anyways, at least, there was a kind of a slower period where they didn't use the towels and things like that. And then obviously I got out and went and did my business. Yeah. When I came back in, it was hopping. And I started as a prep PA, I think, and then within a couple of days, I was toweling.
A couple of days, yeah. There's so much content and jobs, too. People move up real quick now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because there is so much opportunity to be able to do so now. But yeah, I think I started ALMing pretty much right after I came back. Like I did a towel gig or two, and then right into ALM. Prep ALM was really what I was doing. That's kind of where all of my focus was throughout the career, was like really a lot of the prep. I did the, first few years of my career was in on set and doing key stuff and things like that,
right,
where you met me.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, I just headed right for the prep zone.
Yeah, I learned that too quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's better if you get the mind for it, and if you're, because a lot of people can't see or anticipate the things that they need to anticipate for prep, and they kind of feel like it's just maybe just sitting around. But if you're really good at it, you're worth your weight in gold, right? So,
oh yeah, you get to know a lot of the different departments, and you work more with the office as well. It's kind of a job that is more inclusive, and you can really take charge of certain things and be noticed and have opportunities come to you because of it.
Exactly. And I really think that all of that prep and stuff like that, office work and stuff with, within those years of the slow period actually benefited me huge now. Because I already kind of knew all of the systems and the paper flows and things like that, what was required before I took the job, right? Because I got to see it. I was sitting in the office with these people where if you're on set, not necessarily all the time, you're going to get to see that, right? So, the set part's probably beneficial for people who want to go into AD world, right?
Right. And I also think younger people. Like, I started way late in life, so I'm like, oh, man, my body hurts. Like, when I was 20, you can sling tents in the rain, no problem, right?
Oh, I remember doing that. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Throw a tent on your shoulder and run to the location. Like, that's a 25-year-old.
10 by 15.
Yeah.
I'm only 5 feet tall, right?
Yeah, exactly. Bigger than you.
That's right. But I could do it. Yeah. I mean, as you get older, you certainly want to look into getting into positions, maybe even scout. Like, that's where I started to transition into as a scout, which I love here in Toronto.
Yeah. When you left here, what was the last show you did here?
The last show I did was Ink, and I was a prep ALM on Ink.
Okay.
And, I think I left December 2018.
Okay.
And that was the last one I did there. And then I came here and I started to kind of make my connections and things. It took a little bit of time.
Oh, it wasn't lined up when you left?
No, I took a chance because I figured, well, you know what? I already done the show that I was on. I wasn't coming back in the new year anyhow.
Okay.
So I figured I don't have anything there, and, so it's going to be the same thing, right, down here. I'd still be looking for a job, right? I mean, mind you, I had more connections out there, but
Right.
my thought was, I've put away a lot of money and stuff, so, it was a busy year. Why not make the jump now? Because if in a few years I probably wouldn't do it, and I really wanted to get closer to my family. So
okay, that was the purpose of moving there.
Yes, it was, and a friend of mine actually had an open apartment available right at the same time, and I just thought everything just lined up for me. So let's give it a shot, right? Vancouver's always going to be there, and
the universe just aligned. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? So, so I took the leap, and it was difficult to leave because, I was out there for 20-some years anyways.
Oh, yeah.
So, all my friends, my connections, everything are out there. So it was hard to leave, but I certainly fell in with a great group of people here, and I'm starting to build my my friendships and stuff here just the same way as I built them out there. So I find it pretty similar that way.
Nice. So
yeah.
I know there's obviously differences, right? From Toronto to Vancouver.
Oh yeah. The traffic is one of them. Oh my God! No. The locations department, it is a nightmare because everything is so far away, and even if it's close, it takes a half hour to get 2 kilometers sometimes, right?
Wow. Moves, they don't have as many moves as they would have here.
They try not to. Now, they do. It just causes a lot more problems if they have to move at certain times of the day, especially. But it's more of so you're prepping in this area and that area, this area. It's all so far spread out. You know how like an ALM will usually set all the PAs up. They'll just kind of visit the sites.
Right.
Well, that kind of can't happen here. It takes so long to get anywhere. You would need one person to be driving around all over the place setting these PAs up. So I don't know why they have it here, but they call them LSP companies.
Okay.
And they handle what we call PAs that would be clearing streets and maybe holding parking and, lettering and
wow.
doing polling. They hire these people out. So the ALM just goes, I need blah, blah, blah at this address. They give them the instructions, and then eventually somebody might show up and tell them, but mostly the onus is put on the company itself to ensure that the instructions were put into place. And if anything different changes, that's when an LPA, which is a location PA, might show up and tell you, or the ALM.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a little bit weird with that because that was the one thing I found. I was like, well, what do you do? Like, if you can't, like these guys, they don't do all of the jobs that we would have a PA normally do. Like, if they're hired for street clearing, you can't get them to be in the house, right?
Right.
And those types of things. You can't move them around. They're on elevator duty. That's all they do all day long. They won't do anything else. So I thought, well, that's so weird. Then they have this category called LPA. There's usually only 1 to 2 on per show, but they're the ones that'll go around, change the garbages, and to handle some things on set.
Okay.
But there's a category for set PA.
Wow.
And they're ran by the ADs, and they do all the lockups and all that kind of stuff. If we can help, then we will help. But
it's very separate. If your locations, you're not set PAs. It's like a different job title. Like, oh wow.
Like locations, how we had to keep everybody quiet all the time, and
right.
We're rolling, and then the AD gets mad at us and stuff. Well, they get mad at their own people now, and we're the ones that are being told to be quiet.
So, wow. So it's like there's give and take on two different fronts. So basically, what you're saying is there's a companies that prep for the productions. They kind of set it up for you instead of locations being responsible for it, and then you go over what they've done and then decide if it's good enough, kind of thing, and you report back to the production.
Pretty much. I mean, we're ultimately still responsible for the location, as in terms of we will put they call them a daily LTA inside the house.
Okay.
To ensure that, it's safe. The prep companies come in oftentimes, they're doing the carpets. They do all the, like LES is one of them that just goes in, puts cardboard carpet all over the place.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's kind of nice.
Right? Yeah. So they have the prep company handles all that. You mostly are the eyes and the ears for the location manager, and you will go out and tell the people if they're not going by the permits that they got or something. You can tell the LSP that you got to go up farther or that type of thing. But other than that, they're kind of their own entity. They got 12-hour days, and you don't wrap them really. You might say goodbye to them or whatever if it's an early day. But the company handles all their timesheets and where they go, all their schedule, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all taken off the ALM's plate so that they can drive around in Toronto.
Yeah, because you spend most of the time in your car. Oh my God.
That's right.
Well, so which do you like better? Because, which is also cheaper? If you hire a company to do this kind of prep and then you send in one person, it's cheaper than hiring, say, 5 PAs to go prep this place and do all of the carpeting and all the cardboard on the walls and stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of times it turns out to be cheaper, which is kind of why they've kept with this. I think the LSP thing, with clearing traffic and things like that tends to be too, just because they're on 12 hours, there's no real overtime until 44 hours, I believe, on one show. So the company keeps track of that, and they just keep moving them to a different show and put other people in there so that there's no overtime expenditures.
I see.
So, yeah, and we don't have to even think about any of that. That just all, like the PA scheduling is kind of pretty cool that way.
Nice.
You don't have to worry about 50 people in different places. Like, I got to schedule them and let them all know. The company does it all.
And you're texting till 11:30 at night, and you got to be up at 5.
Exactly. Yeah, giving everybody their ins and outs, doing the, that kind of thing.
Oh my God! So you like it better then? Is it because that part's easier, or?
I think so. I do like the fact that you don't. We were trying to come up with a concept up there to how to handle booking PAs because the shows were getting so big, and. I guess it's got its benefits for sure. It does have its downfalls again because you don't always get the continuity. Like we like to have same people.
Right.
Usually that would get switched out. So, I mean, there's good and bad to both of it. I personally like the LSP company thing because all I got to know is how many I need, why I need them all, and then just let them book it. So it'd be almost like a booking PA. That that they use booking PAs out in Vancouver, so this company would be like that, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but for me, I like it because I don't have to really be looking for a bunch of people. I don't have that many PAs here that I know yet, right? So it's pretty beneficial for me.
Well, yeah, it's seems very separated. It doesn't seem. Each department seems to just have their own specific thing, and that's what you follow, and don't worry about what the other ones do.
That's pretty much it, right? That's exactly it. And like even other departments, they have PAs of their own. Like the art department has their PA, and the set tech has their PA, and so they deal with all of their own stuff too, right? So,
and is that like an office runner kind of PA? Like they will do anything for the department?
It's whatever they need for their department, right? They have their own PA. Even Post has a PA. Accounting's got a PA.
Wow.
It's depending on the show too, right? But and what their budget is. But yeah, everybody's pretty self-contained, and it's nice to see that separation on set with locations and the ADs, because I found a lot of times, you'd have to get people out in Vancouver, you'd have to get your PAs doing something off the set, and then they'd be breaking a lockup or something, right? So you'd have to decide which was more important.
Right.
This way you don't. The ADs just take care of set.
Well, maybe this format or the way they're doing things might come here then. If it's cheaper too, because productions are looking for cheaper. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure, always. So yeah, you never know what they made. I think originally the reason that this happened was people were telling me that it was because the Teamsters were going to come in at one point and take the PAs. And same as out west, they were going to do that as well. The DGC scooped them out there. And
I didn't know that.
Instead they opened these LSP companies to keep the Teamsters out of Toronto because they didn't want them in the film industry. And they're still not in the film industry. The drivers are IATSE.
That's a huge difference. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Huh. That's wild. So, not only are there more departments, just certain things are handled differently too, like that. IATSE drivers, never even heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not the Teamsters and ACFC like out there. It's like IATSE.
And so they're much more involved in what's in the group of people that, say it's an electrics guy or whatever, and he's the driver. He's really involved in all the equipment and stuff, and because here it's Teamster, so they drive and then that's it. They don't get involved in the actual equipment or the film production at all. It's just drive, and that's their limit. So
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you'll get that here too, obviously, like with the shuttle drivers and things like that. But I think you're right with the truck driving for departments. They at least they'd have that knowledge. Like I know the set deck driver, he goes in and he helps and all that kind of stuff, right? Like
nice.
He doesn't just sit there in his cushy truck.
Yeah, exactly. Complaining. When's the food?
I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for that comment.
I know, me too. But we're locations and we have a certain relationship with Teamsters, and you know what? I have really good friends that are Teamsters too. So it's not.
Me too, and they are great. And I do oftentimes I wonder that maybe the Teamster Union out there, maybe it would have been better here. Like you see some of the catering trucks and things that are here, and it's like what?
Oh yeah, so they are professionals.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's good and bad in on both sides, but just all depends on the geographic that you enjoy the most, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's another thing, the geographic thing. What's it like to film in the winter? That was the other thing because here filming in the winter is snow and cold, I would imagine.
Well, this is Arctic weather here.
Yeah. You went down to minus 20? Yeah. Jesus. I'm a PA outside at minus 20. I don't know, man.
Well, they do pay shelter, and that actually goes to LSPs as well. So that's an LSP company, and they do pay a shelter fee for their vehicle starting in November at some point. I don't know the exact date, and it goes until roughly mid-March, I believe, where you get added on. So it's basically a shelter fee pay for your car, so that you're running your gas and all that kind of stuff because you got to stay warm. So they do pop that on to your daily paycheck for shelters because that's definitely something you got to take care of, right? Like people are freezing and they're standing overnight and stuff like that. So Yeah.
Wow, because yeah, I've been cold here, and I've had times where it was, I don't know, the elements were pretty harsh, and I could handle it. It was hard, but I couldn't imagine -20 and trying to handle it. That's endurance.
It's hard. It's hard.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. You got to stay really, really warm layer. You learn a lot of different layering techniques and things like that. I was kind of lucky because I mostly scout in my car. Right? It's the driving part. You got to just be constantly defensive because somebody's always trying to take you off the road.
Yeah, it's driving there is different for sure. I come from London and it's near there, and I know it's a different story.
The Indy 500, every day I get in, I put my helmet on, and I say my prayers.
I know. They're like, okay, when I came here and I noticed on the drive or somewhere where people would just walk out in traffic, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Toronto. You don't jaywalk in the middle of the road. Traffic's not stopping. You're getting hit. Like,
somebody will actually drive all over the place just to hit you.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what is that fool doing? Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
I think you jaywalked.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It can be hectic for sure, and there's just so much more people too.
Oh yeah. Well, there's over 2 million people just in the downtown core city of Toronto, and they're all trying to either get out or get in. And then all the surrounding areas, and they're coming into downtown to work, like the 401 and the Gardner and everything. There's so many highways here too. That's the other thing, and they're all on the same path pretty much. You just have to merge in each one. So it's pretty crazy. And there's 8 lanes that a guy will drive. He wants to be way over in the right, and he's on the furthest left one, and he'll just shoot through all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I know.
Like, what? Almost taking out every car in every lane.
Oh, I took pictures. I visited and take pictures and show people. And they're like, no way. 8-lane highways. What are you talking about? I'm like, you want to see? Look at this. Like, wow.
That's crazy. And you've been driving downtown. You're driving on these railroad tracks all the time. Right. Because they've got all the streetcars, right? And your wheels are going all over the place, and you're in other lanes because you're trying not to drive on that. Oh, it's just...
It's wild. And in the winter, when there's snow and stuff, too, it's even more challenging.
Oh, yeah. And they still drive the same way. They get in, they put the foot right down to the floor.
Oh, wow. So do you live near the downtown core, or whereabouts in Toronto are you?
I do. I live actually, they classify it as Midtown, but I'm pretty close. I got like a 15-minute walk and I'm downtown.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm like right in the city. It takes about an hour to get anywhere. So yeah, I consider myself downtown because of that.
Well, does it help with your job?
The weird thing about here is because the locations are so spread out, it really doesn't matter where you live. Like right now, I'm on a TV series where I'm scouting out in Hamilton, which is 80 kilometers away.
Yeah.
And so that's the minimum. And then I'm driving all around there, maybe St. Catharines, here it's kind of weird. You can kind of live anywhere, and it's always going to take you an hour to get wherever you need to go. So you can pick and choose where you want to be, and it's easy. Not like out there where people want to be in New West because they want to be close to that one highway. Well, we've got like 10 highways. So.
Yeah, no, I exactly. You're not just one place filming all the time, unless what about studio work? That's the other question. Is because I've been on shows here. When I first started back in that day, it was all space shows, and it was mostly studio because of that. It was, you can't really do it. And every time they went to a planet, it was always evergreen trees and like,
it
was always the same backdrop. Yeah.
That's right. I was just talking to somebody about that the other day, how it was all sci-fi out there because of the rainforest, right? And everything looked the same.
Yeah, exactly. Every planet has rainforest. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, the studio, there is a lot of studio work here too. And I think a lot of it comes in the wintertime, right? Because there is obviously some limitations. Having said that, they do film a lot of locations in the snow as well. But it tends to turn in the winter towards more of the interior stuff like studio work and things. Where the summer it's pretty location heavy. Every show that I've seen so far is all on the road
until like October, beginning of October, end of September.
Yeah, around October. You're going to start to see a slowdown probably around the end of October, mid-November.
Okay.
And then the kind of the winter shows will kind of start popping up. But yeah, all of the location heavy ones, I think they just put them all out between like May and November. And then it's just like a frenzy of filming everywhere, and you just can't get people there's nobody to work. My show started in the middle of August, the middle of August, because I started at the end of July.
Okay.
And there was just nobody to crew. Like the PM she couldn't even get an accountant to start because they're all on other shows. Right?
Wow. It's that busy.
So, yeah, it just gets insanely busy, but then at the same time, it gets insanely slow through the winter. So from what I'm hearing, like I haven't really spent a lot of time here yet in the winter, so that might not be true for, like I'm saving up to be off for a couple of months, but then I'm hearing some other people saying, no, we're going to be out there. And I'm thinking, you're going to be out there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not taking a job in the winter. What are you talking about? Well, if you're in the studio, though, the ALM job is kind of easy, I would think, if it's in the studio all the time, right?
Yeah, it is. You'd just be dealing with, like, if you're going out here and there, dealing with like permits from the city that you would require for your extra parking and things like that, which is, it'd be pretty minimal. You do go out, like even if it is a studio show, you do go out for some locations regardless.
Right.
So you always need us, but it becomes easier. I would definitely.
And so you don't have a TAL. You don't have people to do that. You do it yourself, all the parking permits and stuff.
That's right. So that's the other thing that I was talking to people about is, like, you guys don't have as much help in the office because they have the LM and they get the ALM, which eventually goes to set.
Right.
But they have to end up doing all the maps and all that kind of stuff. Some of the larger Tier A shows, they will have a prep ALM, which is that they do all of the TAL work as well.
Okay.
But they're in the midst of trying to, they call it a track, or where we call it a TAL. They want somebody in the office doing the POs and all that kind of stuff, which is the TAL job.
All the paperwork, all the permits, all the shit.
Yeah. So, they are, they're discussing that kind of stuff here, but Vancouver by far has, a better support system, I think, for their departments, for locations anyway.
Well, hey, yeah, it's good in one hand and bad in another, and yeah, I guess it just all works out in each department. I mean, New York and LA all have different things. Do you know what they're like as far as locations? Have you heard, or have you had friends that moved there?
I haven't heard much about in terms of LA, New York. I feel like Toronto's system is a little more like LA, where the set PAs are ADs. And locations deals with, like, the location issues that are there. They don't really deal with much of the set itself or lockups. So that Vancouver's, I think, the only one that really does that. The rest of them they all have that very separate thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's got a lot of similarities, I think, across the board, like permitting and all that kind of stuff, how you letter, how you deal with
polling,
like neighborhoods.
Yeah,
like all of that stuff is all pretty much identical. It's just really kind of adjusting job descriptions. That's the major difference in how a scout here gets paid like an ALM. Because they're considered an ALM, right? So, out west, they don't do that. They have a scout it's just a scout. They don't necessarily help the locations department with like permits if they needed to or anything like that.
Right, they just scout. Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And here, you pretty much just do that, but the odd time they'll go, hey, can you throw in the permit for me while you're at it? And then you just, yeah. Right. Yeah, but your pay is definitely the exact as an ALM because it's called Scout/ALM category.
Gotcha. Okay. And you are on the show permanently because here also, I just interviewed a scout and he was saying that it's considered through the union to be a day call, even though they'll keep you repeatedly. But once you get the location, they're done with you until they need another location.
Out there, yes.
Yeah,
now,
in Vancouver,
yeah, I'm on a weekly here. So it's the same as an ALM or a location manager. They would be on weeklies. Even the PA is on a weekly. So, they can't just go to that day go, yeah, see ya. They have to give you a week's notice here in the locations department, unless you're like one that's just called in for a day call, and then they'll tell you you're just a day call for 3 days or whatever. But yeah, here it's you're on as a weekly.
Do you work with background?
I don't. We do have the LSPs that'll sit in the background holding and just make sure that it's cleaned and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it, and that's through the LSP company. So we don't really we'll tell somebody to go in and relieve somebody every once in a while, but that's about it. Yeah,
it's just more about making sure everything's okay, and then they have wranglers then look after the background.
They have ADPAs or set PAs they call them.
Oh, okay.
So they handle all of that as well, yeah.
Oh, so there's no wranglers. That's different. Yeah, like here, that's a whole job and a whole department.
Yeah, they actually use a set PA for that here.
Oh, okay.
I think they call it a fourth AD, maybe. Maybe that's what they call it, fourth AD.
What about food? How's the food difference?
That's weird, too. Like, I was on a couple of shows where I was standing there next to this, 5-ton. And people are going in and out of it. And I walked over, and there's my breakfast line. It's in the crafty truck. I was like, what? So you go in. Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, well, where's my ordering?
Yeah.
There's so much good food. I don't want oatmeal. No.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of times they do that. I have been on one show that there was a catering truck that you would go up and order. They don't put a menu out or anything like that, like they have out west. In Vancouver, it's pretty elaborate. Where here, it doesn't seem to be as much of a focus. The food.
So sandwiches, hot snack, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they call it subs. So they do bring the subs in 3 hours after breakfast, I guess.
Okay.
And they do that, and they do have a hot thing at the end of closer to the end of the night, where you can get a chance to have something to eat. So that's kind of similar. But yeah, it depending on which show it is, and who they hire for the catering. I don't know if I should say the show's name or not. Yeah.
Well, no, as long as you don't talk about the show, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right. Well, they used craft service for their catering as well, and it was a large show. It was a tier A. It was weird because it's just like it looks like kind of an indie show
right, setup.
Food. Yeah. So, and I haven't really seen like their food is definitely they definitely don't prioritize that, which I guess we probably shouldn't. But
oh, it blew me away, the food when I started here in Vancouver for film. It was just unbelievable. I like literally 10 different salads and stuff, and all meats. Like some you go in, it's pork, chicken, and beef, and vegetarian option. You're like,
absolutely.
What's going on here? Like, I couldn't believe it. And then Crafty was unbelievable. It was like walking into a 7-Eleven and saying, just grab what you want. What?
That's what I used to say to Mom all the time. I'm like, it's like a great big giant store that you own. You just go in and take whatever you want.
Yeah. Bag of chips, donuts, whatever. There's cut up fruit. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. So, there was not.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah. It's not so overwhelming and unbelievable like it is here.
Yeah. I missed that.
Yeah. Oh, even the Crafty in the office. That was the other thing. When I started working in the office, I was like, what? You have your own Crafty? I go in. Oh my God. Because that's the producer's requests,
Oh, yeah.
The top people.
Yeah.
So they would have an endless huge thing of M&M peanuts. And then they'd have a huge thing of all different chocolates and all different stuff that you couldn't even believe it. It was just gourmet 7-Eleven now. Like, wow.
Those truffle chocolates. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. Now you got to change that there. You got to.
Yeah, right. I'll just start leaving little truffle chocolates everywhere to get everybody all hyped up. They'll start going, "Where's those chocolates?"
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so funny.
Do it for a week and get them used to it, and then.
Well, I'm sure that there's just like here, there's certain Crafty that's amazing and certain Crafty that's
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it all depends. It's not that it's terrible. It's just a little bit less extravagant than what I've experienced out in Vancouver so far. Anyways, so we'll see. Maybe there's some really big shows that have some really excellent ones that I'll find eventually. But right now, no, they're subpar. No.
Exactly. I don't want to say or complain, but yeah. Oh wow. Well, hey, I mean, it's really refreshing to hear someone I know who experienced both things firsthand and has really been involved in each of these industries, even though it's the same but it's different. And is there a lot of like movies, or is it television?
There's kind of an even split of both. I did more television here right now, but I did have a feature come in. It's pretty even split. They do have quite a few TV shows though, and more coming in. Like there's a lot of Canadian content here in Toronto as well, where not so much in Vancouver. But which is something that I did notice. A lot of Canadian, which I think is a good thing.
Oh, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Is it any different though? Because like all of these shows and all these Canadians who've been doing this for so long, they're professionals at what they do. So when a production comes in, whether it's Canadian or American, I'm sure it's handled the same way. It's not like
absolutely.
Yeah.
They just tend to have less money.
True. We have less population.
That's the thing, right? Like, and the American companies are, let's be honest, they have way more investors investing in their products than we do here in Canada. I don't know a whole bunch on that right now, but I had a few discussions with some of my friends about why. And we tend to kind of get the short end of the stick when it comes to the budgets. But we end up pumping out really good product in the end too. So,
Right.
and I think they're starting to get larger budgets and stuff like that too, right? We got a lot of good TV shows that are coming out here now.
Well, my wife really loves Anne with an E. That's like a Canadian one that is really taken off, and also Handmaid's Tale, and there's actually some really big ones that are coming out of Toronto.
Yeah, they're great. I just I'm working with the LM from Anne with an E now.
Nice.
She's just coming on. Yeah, really nice person, and she's been on that for I believe 4 years. I think this is the 4th season that they just shot. So yeah, I mean, and Baroness von Sketch, and this is the 5th season for that. So the ones that we have, like Schitt's Creek, has been on forever. Murdoch Mystery.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I know, it's just endless, actually. Murder Mystery, I forget all these ones, too. They're all...
Yeah.
It's wild. Well, there's so much content today, too. I mean, technology's made it. Wow.
And I think the Canadian content here that we made seems to go longer. Like they seem to have more seasons than a lot of the ones that are American. They get cut off at season 3 or season 4, and we seem to go surpass that. So that's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the lower budgets that are benefiting us, right?
Well, hey, I mean. It's probably a huge industry, just like in Toronto, just like in Vancouver, and is a big part of the economy.
It's massive here. Yeah, it's really, really big, and it's getting bigger all the time. And with Hamilton being just opening up as a hub, and Ottawa is starting to get their feet in there as well, it's really expanding, and it's expanding fast. I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see it like explode.
That is awesome. In Calgary and Edmonton and Winnipeg. They've always filmed in Montreal, as far as I know.
Montreal's kind of weird. They have their own kind of massive industry on their own over there, and they're definitely pretty big. They do a lot of indie over there as well.
Well, that's where the comedy festivals are, too, and so they do a lot of show business stuff. Yeah,
for sure.
Well, thank you for talking to me and taking the time to explain what the difference is. I really appreciate it. It's a big help, for sure, so people understand in the Canadian industry how the difference is and how big film is in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. No, and thanks for talking to me. It's been so long. It was nice to catch up.
I know. It's been way too long. Years. When was the base thing? How long ago was that?
Oh, my God.
4 years ago? 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was probably 5 years ago anyway. You got to get better at that thing.
Oh, I wanted to also tell you about the podcast and how well it's doing. And in 8 days, on the 17th, I think it is, I interview Tom Green.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So I kept sending him messages on Instagram and heard nothing back. And eventually I sent this message and I said, I don't know if this will help, but I'm just a lone guy from Ontario and I have friends in Ottawa. And, I'm really trying to get this podcast thing happening. And if you could really help me, I would totally appreciate it. And he responded, and he said he'll give me 10 minutes after his stand-up at the Rio Theater. And I was so excited. It's going to be a really good show.
I worked with him.
Get out of town!
On Freddie Got Friggin' Fingered.
You worked on Freddie Got Fingered? Get the hell out. As a what? As a PA?
Yes.
God damn. That is...
I remember it.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember much of it. I just remember being on set with him, and there was like crazy, like camels, I think, and there was out in Richmond. We were doing like some sort of palm trees were everywhere. That's all I remember. I don't remember a lot of it, and I remember being at the Correct building as well.
Wow.
And in the elevator, I was doing elevator duty. But, That's all I can remember. I was just like, Freddie got fingered. And then I think I didn't do the entire show. So that's probably why.
Oh, I see. It was like day calls or whatever, but
yeah,
still.
Yeah.
Did you do
but
sets?
I remember them shipping all the palm trees, the big fake palm trees coming in. And it was crazy. He was just doing crazy things.
Oh yeah, it was like that's what when I talked to him, because he inspired me as a independent person. He's always done independent little things. He did his own TV show, and then he got on MTV, but it was still kind of an independent thing. Freddie Got Fingered. It seemed like an independent movie with a whole bunch of money behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it seemed like a lot of money because like the stuff that they were doing. And the sets that they were bringing in and stuff like that seemed like, I mean, like you're hauling in these big giant trees. And I do remember him being sort of kind of quiet and playing a guitar or something. And that's kind of the only thing that I can really remember. That was just when he was taking his alone time.
He was young then too, right? He was way young.
Yeah, I think he was with Drew Barrymore at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was his girlfriend, and
they got married though, right? They were married for a while.
I believe they did, yeah.
Hmm.
And whether or not he was married at the time, I don't think he was married to her at the time of that show. But
okay,
I do remember that. Yeah, just little bits and pieces of it. But I remember going, "Oh my God, I'm working on." Freddie Got Fingered.
So, yeah, that is crazy. Even I would just love to do a day, because that's one of the productions you're just, it's a pleasure to do. Like when you did Bates, that must have been a pleasure too. Like that was all really great people. And
I loved Bates. Bates was one of the best shows. That and The Order. The Order was one of the best shows I worked on too. Just because of the producers and things like that. They were pretty awesome. But,
nice.
But Bates was just really awesome because for the whole 5 seasons, everybody was pretty much the same. So it was like a little family. And the actors were really nice. And like everybody just was really, really cool. And it was a big show that felt small, right? Like it wasn't hard. It was really a pleasure to do.
Nice. Yeah, that's what was it Kendry was on it? She was saying it was amazing. She loved it.
Yeah, Kendry was the location manager for almost all of it until the end, when she took the job at the DGC,
right,
or the executive director. And so that was the 4th season, I think. She left, and then Gina did the 5th season, full on.
Wow.
And half of the 4th. Yeah. Yeah, but that was a cool show. I loved doing that.
And that was so far the best show you've done, do you think?
Yeah, that one, and I really, really, really enjoyed working on The Order.
Oh yeah, The Order, you said. That's right.
Yeah, that one was awesome. The people, it starts from the top, right? And if you get some really, really good people at the top that treat everybody, the same, then I think it's beneficial. I think it makes a difference in the morale of the people.
Well, you were trained to do that because you were trained that, and you pass it on, and now you pass it on to me, and I would always help people, and that's the inspiration for my book. Really, it was always just helping people out that are just new, and always, giving them the patience, giving them the nurturing they need in order to be a part of the team, and then they become a team player instead of just a job. I'm working for a paycheck, and don't. They try.
Well, I always laugh at people that don't do that, and then they complain that they don't have enough skilled workers. It's like, well, because look what you've done.
Right? Yeah. No one wants to work with you. You get all the crap.
I always have a mind, right? It's always like, these people, I could take them with me. If I move forward, they move forward. Let's all move together, right? Like a big giant wheel.
Right.
And so you should, right? I don't think anybody should be holding back and keeping secrets, and I don't want to tell that person because it's my secret. And
I know, and yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
The secret to success is to have everybody successful with you.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, well, yeah, I should go. That's we should wrap this up, and yeah, thank you very much for this again. That Freddie got
All
fingered just killed me. That's awesome. That's so sweet.
Freddie got fingered. I forgot I even worked on that.
Oh, all right. Take care, Michelle.
You too. Thanks, Mark. Bye bye.
Right, bye. Wow, that was great. I will talk to you next Monday, and I hope everyone has a great week and weekend. Take care.